quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Can I invite you to stand so we can sing the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? Forth from the love of liberty, in the fires of hope and the prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I now invite you to remain standing as we ask Cultural Officer 1, Ms. Giselle Charles, to do an opening prayer for us.
Good afternoon. Let's assume a posture of prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day. You are great and worthy of all praise. You are the God who gives us good gifts, including the gifts to create the splendor that is our Tobago Carnival product. We ask that as we reason today, may our consultation be done with decency and respect for each other. At the end of it, may it be fruitful. Take us all home safely, Lord, at the end of this day. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray with thanksgiving, and we all say, Amen.
Amen indeed, and we will say amen. Amen. Thank you very much. At this time, I want to formally welcome all of you to our Carnival Community Stakeholders Meeting and Consultation, the first of two. And this evening, we will delve into what would have been our National Carnival product of 2025 that just passed, and how we also will delve into the Tobago Carnival, October 24 to 26, 2025. So without further ado, let me just invite to you to bring remarks, Dr. Charleston. And Dr. Charleston, you're invited to bring your remarks at this time.
Right. Good evening, everybody. How are you going? All right, thanks for coming. I actually don't have remarks. I'm the moderator, so I will take up that role one time. Right, thanks for coming. Of course, we've been doing this kind of engagement since the October Carnival began 4 years ago. And for all the people who are involved in the October Carnival, I just want to tell you congratulations, and I think you should give yourselves a round of applause. I'll do that first to start, right? It's been a successful thing, but of course there are always conversations to be had, and there are always improvements to make. There are always facilities and pathways for listening and re-engagement, right? So this is what these consultations are about. Ultimately, the administration is moving towards establishing a clear policy on how the National Carnival is executed and how the October Carnival is executed. And you are key to that, all right? Meaning that a policy, if you know anything about policy development, stakeholders and stakeholder engagement is key to that, right? And not just stakeholder engagement, but a very important part of the engagement is an understanding by stakeholders that the stakeholders in Carnival are many and very varied, right? So the people we think our only stakeholders are not quite the only stakeholders, right? When we talk about stakeholders from a larger conceptual level, we're not just dealing with people who are involved in the execution and the planning of Carnival, but we're also dealing with the people who are impacted by Carnival and also must have a say in how the Carnival feels and is experienced. What we are trying to do with this series of consultations is to streamline the discussions so that as many groups of people as possible are heard, their perspectives are recorded, and they move to inform what becomes that policy on how the National Carnival is executed, and then how the October Carnival is executed. All right? I will also jump back on the prayer that was offered. I've been in these consultations since I started, and I know that we can get very passionate. I know that the passion can manifest itself in raised volumes, but the prayer, I want to invoke the prayer as something to guide us to please engage each other, one another, with respect. We all want this thing to happen, and we all want to be involved in a positive way. All right? So we really would like for that aura and ambience of respect to be the forefront of our exchange. All right? At our head table, of course, you know some of the people. You may not know everybody, but I will just do the quick introduction again. So we have, of course, Cultural Officer 2, Mr. Jesse Taylor, Assistant Secretary, Mr. Niall George, with the responsibility for sports in culture and sports tourism, and tell me? It's plenty words, right? Good. Culture, sports, tourism. Yeah, you could talk to him after and find out, right? Nice. Then we have our new administrator, Ms. Shelley Trim, right? And of course, the CEO of festivals, Mr. Kern Cowan. I am Charleston Thomas. I'm the technical advisor for culture and antiquities in the division, all right? Okay, so having laid that background in terms of we really want to get perspectives in order to inform what becomes the policy on how we do the National Carnival and on how we do the October Carnival, we want to begin the conversation, right? But we have a few ground rules, right? We have a note taker, right? And because we really want to record properly, right, what your concerns are, what your suggestions in particular are, right? Let me just quickly pause here to say that it was, when I say your stakeholders' suggestion, that the division and the administration used to change the route of Carnival. That's why these things are important, right? So that wasn't a decision by the THA. That was your suggestion, right? So in order to get your suggestion with clarity and lucidity, we would like at least, at the most, 3 minutes for your initial comment or question, right? So you can give somebody else time. Be as well, you'll have the microphone to think, but be clear as possible, right? If you get passionate, pause, take a breath, watch the sky, watch outside. You have some nice breeze and thing out there, right? But we want the person who is recording to get the information, right? Please do not interrupt the speaker, right? Let us make sure that, because your thing has to get heard as well. In the first round, we are going to have your perspectives on the National Carnival that just went, right? Tell me what you think, what you feel, how the thing feel, what could have be done better, what perhaps stakeholders can do, and try that as well, right? Don't use the opportunity to only tell the administration what it can do, because that is what you're here to do. But also give us some ideas on how you can better deal with yourselves, right? Because if we want to get a policy that best captures everything, we want to be as comprehensive as possible. You with me, right? So in the first rounds, we're talking about the National Carnival, 3 minutes with a question or comment, do your thing, express yourself, right? We want to record that. We will open the floor for some exchange a little bit, or reactions to those initial set of questions and comments, right? That wouldn't go on for more than 5-10 minutes, the reaction, because we want to move the discussion to October Carnival as well. And the same thing will happen there, right? After we gather that, that's it. What we will continue to do is to meet with people. But what I have to tell you is that it's not going to necessarily happen for this year, because the policy building process takes a lot of time. And we have to do a good canvassing of the Tobago society, the residents in Tobago, the citizens of Tobago, right? Proper canvassing to see what really the sentiment on the island is, because Carnival is for everybody, even if they don't think it is for them, right? They get some kind of, chain reaction impact, and it is something that everybody experiences, like it or not. All right, so we have to get as wide as possible that kind of perspective. In that sense, we want to schedule a number of other consultations and set up some, and we want you to suggest that as well to us. What kind of platforms, virtual platforms, can be set up to feed your perspectives to us on a regular basis, right? But we have church groups to meet. We have fisher folk to meet. You with me, right? We have villages to meet, and we have you to meet in all sorts of ways. So bear with us. This is a process. It's not a fast-changing thing, and it cannot be a fast-changing thing. You know what's going on when you try too fast, you drop down, break your knee. So please help us, help Tobago and the Carnival product, and I invite you now to do your thing. Anybody, please, you're welcome. Thank you. So there we go. I will try my best to summarize the person's comment for the note taker, and to share it back to you in case some of you didn't get it properly, right? And to ensure that what the person is saying is what the person wants to say. So. My bad, excuse me. Let me just invite the Assistant Sec. I'm so eager to hear all you know.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for taking it to be here, even with the forced venue change. I would like to apologize for that to start off with, but there were some technical issues at Shore Park, and thus we had to move the venue very hastily. We are very happy about the number of you that have turned out, nevertheless, because we really need to drive this discussion. For us to get it right, we need the input of the persons, each and everyone that plays a part in making these events roll off. And this is not just about making money, it's about cultural retention at the same time, and we have to marry both. Before I came into this division, I would have heard certain discussions being had, I would have heard certain complaints, and today we are still having some of these issues. And for us to deal with these issues, we need to get to the root, get to the core, listen to the persons that are affected in any which way, in any possible way. So that's why we are starting these consultations, so that we could take note of what is taking place, so that we can drive a policy, so that we can eliminate many of the issues that we are currently experiencing. This afternoon is not about me, it's about everyone here. We would like each and everyone to be respectful in their contribution. We would like to hear from as many of you as possible. And as Dr. Thomas said, we'd like you all to be very clear and articulate, so that we can note these concerns, these suggestions, so that we can map a policy that guides the way we deal with both National Carnival and October Carnival. We are aware that the October Carnival are missing many elements that actually make it a carnival, but we are also saying to the public, it's a work in progress. It's growing. We don't want to make too many mistakes, and by rushing to do too many things, we introduce that and allow a lot to go wrong. So we are here with you all. We are hoping that you all are here with us, and we are willing to work together so that we can formulate clear policies and guidelines as to how both carnivals can exist. And with those few words, I'd like to invite you all to start discussions. So, sorry. Yeah, and I'd like to invite Mr. Cohen, who is the CEO of Festivals Commission, to have a few words.
Special good afternoon to one and all. I want to thank you so much for being here. I look across the room and I see all of the major players that make this thing work in our cultural fraternity of Tobago. We are in the middle of the space, completion of the National Carnival, and of course preparation for the Tobago October Carnival. And you know, with everything, it's about the planning and the execution. And of course, the TFCL, or the Tobago Festivals Commission, we are the executing arm of what is planned and discussed and decided amongst. And that is why it's so important for us to be here to work with you to initiate what these decisions and policies that we have to do or have to establish to craft the way forward. Yeah? Of course, you know, at the tip of everybody's tongue is, where my money? Where is my money? All that dragging, all that foot. What going on with that? I understand. And permit me to apologize and take front now to apologize for any delays in funds coming to you. We do have some challenges that we are working through internally, but we do expect to have these things sorted out in the shortest possible time. There are some of you who are even more outstanding than others, but either way, we are moving quickly to address them. We do have some internal challenges, I'm telling you the truth, and we are moving to fix those because we want to get it right. Yeah? So we are, and you can meet with me after, one-on-one if you so desire, to get some more specifics, but we are addressing these things frontally going forward because we understand what is required in the cultural space to get it done. Yeah? So I hope that is acceptable to you as we continue to establish what we're doing. In terms of a timeline for this, we are working on it. And as I said, in the shortest possible timeline. That's why we have the division represented here, both at the policy level and the execution level, the administrator, who is very much aware of the current situation at hand. But today's exercise is pretty much primarily developing the way forward to explore the culture and economic impact of the October Carnival and, of course, National Carnival to the people of Tobago, to have some more insight from the development of our cultural policy that just not only defines Carnival, but the cultural fraternity, because all of this is required for all of us to go forward. We want to be able to see your craftiness and your creativity extend not only in these two spaces, but throughout the entire year. And how can we develop a product that is impacting across the island and gives the island recognition nationally and internationally. So we are working towards doing those things. Of course, your input, your conversation, and your support in us getting there is critical to us getting it right. Yeah? So with those few words, I want to open again the floor to Dr. Charleston to engage on a one-on-one as we build and we get this thing done right. Yeah, thank you very much. Looking forward to the collaborative conversation.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Cowan, and thank you, Assistant Sec. All right, so the floor is now open, right, for comments or concerns regarding the just ended Hey, Elvis. National Carnival. All right? Feel free.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yenke Murray. I am representing Yenke's World Designs. Overall, for me, I brought Kiddies Carnival, and the experience was okay-ish. Some of my concerns would have been the marketing of Carnival and the engagement of launching the Carnival, because there were little to no spectators on the road to see the kiddies' costumes or adults, as far as I am concerned. I don't believe that it was launched at all, or if it was launched, we were launching to ourselves in Tobago. So there was the show, the hard work that was done by the band leaders, because some of the kiddies' costumes was really, really nice, great construction and so on. And I don't believe that anybody got to enjoy it, right? And for my belief is because the way in which it was launched, right? Another concern that I have, and I will continue to have, is the offering of support in terms of grants and so on, and then we getting it like a week before, and now usually we used to get it to help us prepare with the costumes and so on. And this year, which was, I don't know if I missed the discussion or what, or to my surprise, when we went to collect the check, it was 30% after they were saying the grant was approved, right? So they said it would be 30%. Then when you get your count on the road, then you would be given 20%, and then the initial funds, the rest of the funds after, whatever percent is left, which makes no sense, because the band already crossed the road. It cannot help the band in any way thereafter, right? So in terms of costume, production, or even if it's at 2 cents to buy water or juice or whatsoever it may be for the kids on the road, that it's not making any sense. So that needs to be revisited.
The timeliness of the grant.
Yes, timeliness of the grant. It definitely needs to be revisited, and we need to think about it logically, right? So that, and also I've been posting this for quite some time on Facebook, and people have been resharing it and so on and so on. It's how we talk about progress in the space. And year after year, I've been marking the dates now. Not this year, the year before, it was May, we got paid May the 5th. Then, I believe last year it was somewhere in August. And I'm hoping that it's not September or October this year, because then it makes no sense. You all engage the people, the band leaders, in nights of sleep, no sleep, and no. It's craziness. It is really craziness, and it cannot. But then there are outstanding creditors, people who needs to be paid that are down our backs. Some people we have to offer incentives. You understand? And all these things, and then we break in relationship with contractors who we don't have in Tobago. Some people have to go to quite Trinidad to credit stuff from creditors, and then they have to wait till whenever to get back the money. And what about the band leaders who take in loans and Island Finance calling them? They don't give us a rest, right? So all these things are a cause for concern, because then they would always have something negative to say in terms of the type of mass that comes out from February, but February are not like the large stakeholders in October, right? Most of the February bands are band leaders from the initial who have small businesses or whatsoever. We are not large organizations. So it's very hard for us to take our money out of our pockets and wait a whole 6, 8, 12 months, however long it may be. It is too long. We are not getting to reinvest the money into our production. The quality of mass will never increase if that continues to happen. That relationship as well needs to be revisited, especially if we want something substantial out of February mass. All right, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So AK's World Designs. Sorry? Yenke, sorry, right? Kiddies, yes? Okay-ish.
Everything was nice.
Right. I was about to ask you if you could share with us what was the okay-ish part of it. But those are the things we want to make sure and keep, you see?
Right. So
Right.
this year, we got the option of starting at different points. Right. I was one of the first bands to cross in Scarborough, and probably the third band or fifth band to cross in Roxborough. So in terms of that, I think that it didn't have such a bad bottleneck that it usually have in Roxborough, which was really nice.
Right.
And also in Scarborough, when I came back down, the bands were coming up, the ones that started Coast Guard. So I definitely applaud the efforts in which the parade was done. But as I said, because of, I don't know if it's a short launch or a hard launch, or if we wasn't sure we was having February Carnival, but we did not get the spectators needed to have a successful February Carnival. Yes, it was successful in terms of the band leaders coming out, but a lot of band leaders who usually bring mass did not bring mass. So it's borderline. We need to encourage the band leaders more to participate. But as I said, the reason why they're not participating is because it's getting bad to worse and worse just now.
Right.
So we need to get it together.
Right. So
Right?
I get you, sister. Trust me. Right. Yes. Thank you very much. Right. Good. You have, no takers. You have that. Right. Good. I'll offer two quick things. So if your contribution is very similar to this, perhaps you could add something else, right? But you might want to consider giving way to somebody else who will bring up something else that we actually need to hear as well, because we have this, right? That's one. And two, give me 1 second. The point you made regarding it's getting worse and worse, right? I agree, but that is a national truth, and it's a Caribbean truth, right? So what I wanted to actually say this, and I think now is the time to say it. It doesn't always feel the case, right? But the administration actually tries very hard to do the thing properly. But do know that a fundamental challenge, I wouldn't have to ask the administrator to talk about it, because I know I have spoken about it before, and I know people spoken about it before as well, right? But imagine when the trickles are supposed to come to us, there are delays. And what is promised, we hope now that got changed, right? But what is promised doesn't come. There is always a pull and a tug in terms of how monies are spent and how people get the monies, right? I know stakeholders in Trinidad wait a year, right, before they get paid. They have different streamlines of income. So they don't feel what you feel. So you feel it more acutely, right? But I can tell you too, I'll give you this very personal experience. I was teaching UWI many years ago, and so in 2003, I get paid in 2017 for some work I do in UWI 2003.
I have one question.
So it's a national truth. Go
Right.
through.
So you see, like how we have in this is February, March, April, May. 3 months after, we are having basically a post-mortem of February and whatsoever. What then happens after this? Is it that we're going to wait till after October Carnival to think that we know the National Carnival happens every year? This should not be happening, because this is a national carnival. I do not know how much years, but it's plenty years we have in this thing, all right? So we need to, don't know. This needs to be revisited. It's either we have a division that is dedicated to Carnival, where we have October and February Carnival, and that is all the business that they see about. But the neglect that we are seeing is going to cause two things. It's either the running down or the crash, and then we would call the sabotage of February Carnival, because that's going to come next, right? Because October Carnival is now imposing on that. Right, so and these are very integral point here. The mass band leaders, in February cannot survive in October Carnival, right? That is not, I know that is the integration space that you're all trying to integrate us into, but because of the initial launch.
Correction.
Well, I'm not sure, sorry. What is it? It is alleged.
No. That's what I said at the very beginning.
Okay.
You're involved in that process. That's
okay.
What you're doing here. You're suggesting to us points that will become part of what is a policy on the two things.
So, and you said the policy isn't built.
There's no drive from the division or the THA.
As yet. Or
to put you into anything.
Okay.
What we want to put you into is this, a discussion so that you can feed us and we can feed you.
Well, I know that the policy building will definitely take some time, and it's going to need a lot of these sessions to build something that is substantial for the growth of that. But as is, the February Carnival band leaders cannot survive in October, so both need to be discussed. Right, and the things that would work for October Carnival and their band leaders would not work for February Carnival and their band leaders.
Lovely.
So we both need an ear on the committee that seeks the benefit of both parties, right? If it's going to be a symbiotic relationship or whatsoever, it definitely needs a body that is going to support the growth of both carnivals, because we are so blessed to have two. So what I don't understand, why are we at this point that, you know, it's sometimes it feels unfair and one is being neglected for the other.
Right.
All right? We both can survive in this space.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Good. We have all of that. I am making sure I have my own, right? Yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Marceline Ned from Marceline Ned and Associates. Right now, I'm one of the oldest band leaders in Tobago, because some has passed away, some has dropped out from the Carnival fraternity, so I'm here fighting the good fight. And to the youngest person in Mass who just spoke, Yenke Murray from World Designs, and you hear World Design, she is an upcoming designer, which I of myself has given that push from her doing some designs for my band, Marceline and Associates, for October Carnival, along with the National Carnival. And she had touched on some issues that I will just piggyback on. We say that we are here for consultation, and we had many consultations before this. And I'm asking, with all the questions that was asked back then, what has happened with that? Because we are coming back here saying the same thing over and over and over. Right? I come from a Mass family from way back when Jesus Christ was a little boy, and we are still going, and we are looking forward to the future of persons like Yenke Murray, who I'm myself on my way out. What are we leaving for these young people of today? Because we say the youths are the future. I am part of the Mass fraternity in Tobago, and I'm saying it right here. We get fight down from festival. I'm saying it honestly and truthfully. And festival needs to clean the act up. There are 3 entities who are responsible for carnival on a whole, mass, pan, and calypso. Yes. And mass is like we are the bastard child. We misbehave, and they tell us go to the corner, put your hand on your lips, and say nothing.
Okay, hold 1 second for me. I'm hearing you very carefully. I just want to make sure that we stay on point. We want to get perspectives on the National Carnival now, because again, only 3 minutes we have, and if you take up the time to not talk about our National Carnival, we will move to our next person to talk about the National Carnival. All right?
I'm talking about the National Carnival because the issue I'm speaking of, we say that we want to move forward, and if we want to move forward and we are getting fight down, how can we move forward? For instance, last year, Carnival was chopped up like Chini Bibi. This year, almost the same thing, even though we had night mass and Juve back in Scarborough, right? And if we are saying we want to move forward, that is why I asked the question, what of those other consultations that we had before, what was done with it, right? And it was being said that it's only few band leaders in Tobago take part in October, like myself. How do you want me of myself to take part in October Carnival when I invested my money into the National Carnival, waiting to get my funding to start production for October? I love the October. I love my culture. I'll take part in almost anything cultural in Tobago for see the growth. But the advertisement, that was a kill. Well, everybody know what I suffered last year, and I hope not to suffer the same thing this year, because people were wondering, do we have an October Carnival? Same thing. Do we have a National Carnival? Because there were no advertisement. There are plenty media places who was asking the same question, and I do hope that they do better this year for band leaders such as myself can grow along the path. Right? And Mr. Chairman, there are some outstanding monies for myself since last year. I do hope that the runaround I was getting from your peoples up in culture, I do not get it this year. Please, I have
thank you very much.
to pay.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diane McCrimmon, and I'm the chairman of Tobago Mass Band Leaders. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Jesse Taylor, his team, Mr. Guy, and Ms. Charles. We worked together for 2025 Carnival, and I hope it really continue. I want to also say thanks to the Assistant Secretary, Ms. Lovell, and Mr. Cowan. 2025 Carnival was a challenge, but we did it. What I would like to see from THA is that the prize money actually raised. I do not know what budget we really does work with. The last budget we were working it was 2013. We are in 2025. Materials are raising. The issue we are having with the carnival or the bands is the prizes. Okay, THA, Assistant Secretary, you should not expect the bands to give you Trinidad costume on a child's prize. To build a costume frame, it's a lot of money. Then you have to pay somebody to design it. So I'm asking that if we could look back at the budget and see the best. We know things are hard and stuff like that, but it is National Carnival. And next thing too, we need to have more frequent meeting for Carnival to look at the different competitions we are having, right? For example, traditional mass. Traditional mass, you can't have Indian, sailor, jab, everybody judging the same. It's the same prizes. No. Years ago, it used to be separate, 1 to 3. We are now not seeing that, and I hope that that could come back. Okay, this year we hardly had any communication, any advertisement. There were one band registered for Roxborough, and that is Miss Riley. So I had was to say that for the people of country, we did not squeeze out anyone. Is that no one registered to take part. And I would like to see the Juve and the Pretty Mass and the traditional mass take part in the two parts of the island, Scarborough and that of Roxborough. But otherwise, the juniors came out and I was surprised. The juniors did good, the senior band excellent, the traditional mass. But the problem that we are having is finance. Those prices really need to change. I would like to see all of the competitions come back as it was. So, Mr. Taylor, I want to say thank you again.
Good evening to everybody. Good evening to the chair at the table. My name is Lisa Wall, band leader of City Rojab. What I would like to see is the prize structure that we used to get to see, like first place, second place, what we actually playing for or what we actually billing a costume for. And my next thing for October, the October Carnival, we're always saying is an October Carnival. I more prefer like a October is it's better you all call it October Tobago Borough than Tobago Carnival, because it's not a carnival.
It's a name change.
Yes, it's not a carnival. It's like a borough. You know, that's my piece. Thanks.
Thank you. Borough, yes, got it.
Yes, not no carnival.
Good afternoon to the head table. My name is Beverly Riley from the Riley's Connection. Now I'm here today to ask back for the people of the East, for the Roxborough, Juve, Old Mass, Senior Parade of the Band, and the Night Mass. For the people of Roxborough and the whole of the East, because they're missing it. Every day I pass, Beverly, when we getting back with Carnival? So I would like that to be back on the agenda, because Carnival started in 1902 in Charlottesville and then came to Roxborough. So we need to bring that back for the people of the East. A lot of old people has come out on Juve morning to see me, especially in my big bottom, coming out the road and lighting up the streets of Roxborough. We need that back. And just to make mention, I would like the prices to increase, especially the queen. A queen costume is very expensive. And I'm here standing proudly. I just go Trinidad and dance smart. I just make my costume, spend a lot of money, and go down on the big stage. If you go on YouTube now, you'll see me lighting it up from Tobago. So I would like the price for the queen costume to be increased. Right? That's my take this afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Riley.
Permit me to ask a couple of questions, since we have a little perspective. How was the change for kiddies between Scarborough and Roxborough on those days? Did it work, or it didn't work? It worked? Is it something that we can keep? Yes? Thanks. Yes. Come to the mic if you don't mind.
Hi, my name is Nicole Phillip. I represent the Tobago Mass Band leaders. The question that Mr. Cowan is asking, what I was really impressed with the Kiddies Carnival was the Kids Jamboree.
Right.
That you had that whole separation the Thursday before in Shore Park,
right,
where the kids was not too tired because they didn't have to compete another time like in Scarborough. So when they went Roxborough, they had to do everything in Roxborough. Right. But on the Sunday in Scarborough was just the bands.
Great.
Because the whole competition with King, Queen, individuals and things was already done. That part of it I was really, really impressed with. And that the children had more time to breathe and there wasn't hasten of the stage and that kind of thing. I really commended that part. So you should keep the kids jamboree.
So we keep the kids jamboree.
Yeah.
And again, we keep in the Roxborough on Saturday and Scarborough on the Sunday, right? Of course, that tourist ship is expected to be consistent on the Sunday. So there's a very high tourist show. Please. Involvement on the Sunday, yes.
Quick question. It's
really quick.
Quick question. The competition that was held at the Kings and Queens and individuals that was held at the Shopper Cultural Complex, all I wanted to know is, I know that the cruise ship had came in, but we didn't see much of the spectators there.
On the Thursday?
Yeah, they could have had like shuttle services of the persons from the cruise ship to come and
but that's a very different arrangement. We may not be able to intersect that. It's a good point, but that requires a full year planning and a lot more involvement than us. Go ahead, quickly. I want to close on national.
Just piggybacking on what Ms. Murray had said,
right.
And you said. So if it is we know we will not get it for next year, at least if we put it in place, we would get it for the following year. Because,
it requires arrangements outside of our scope. Yeah, so it is not something I can even promise.
I know that, I learn a promise is a comforter fool. But if you try from now and letting them know, okay, this is what Tobago mass band leaders or Tobago on a whole would like to see for the tourist sector, because it was lovely that we saw the tourists and them came off the ship and they were eager, because my camp was at the Esplanade and they were coming, when is the mass going to start? I thought it's going to start at certain times and so forth. And we even got participation of persons, children from on the cruise ship taking part in the band. So I think let us don't say that we cannot happen. Let us throw it out there, let them hear it from us ourselves, because you have the recording. And
let me give you perspective.
Next year, the following year.
Once it happens inside of Scarborough, yes, but anything off route requires an arrangement with the cruise ship conductors and those kind of people. So that's why I'm saying it is a slightly difficult arrangement. What we were able to accomplish on Carnival Sunday and Carnival Tuesday is that the ship was in Scarborough. So we catch them in Scarborough and it worked fantastic for us. A lot of the respondents from the cruise ship, they commended what was taking place in Scarborough, especially the kiddies. A lot of commentary came from the kiddies on the Sunday, and the participation on Tuesday, where we allowed the tourists to actually partake, was an excellent approach, and it worked well for us, right? But to get them off route and in Shore Park requires some. Hold it for me. Let me wrap. Just now. Right? Yeah, those things allowed that interaction to build the Scarborough enthusiasts a lot. Right? Allow me to just allow Pancho and Bego to say a piece, if you don't mind.
I just wanted to say one thing.
Jumping quick, real fast.
Okay.
Quick.
There were tourists walking all the way down to Shore Park, and I know we have the little guides that walk with some of them. So if we incorporate that, I think we will get them all the way to Shore Park.
Thank you so much. I'll do that.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, sir.
My name is Karen Fletcher, Tobago Chair, Tobago Region, Panchin Bago. First, before I identify my problem, I'd like to say thanks to the Tobago Festival Commission, Mr. Kwan and Ms. Lovell, for helping us out, because when they asked a pan for Tobago for the first time back in Tobago for the National Carnival, it was like a hectic thing, because I done pay for my mass and I had to come up from Trinidad to come to make it happen.
I appreciate that.
We had a little hiccup, and I called Mr. Kwan and Ms. Lovell, and they did iron it out on stuff Friday and thing. But my take on pan is very expensive. And to bring a band on the road is very costly and stuff like that. For transportation, to bring up players, to bring from bands and to tour the bands from XYZ, I think the budget itself should be revisited in the Tobago National Carnival and things for pans and stuff like that for us. And I want to say thanks to Mr. Niall as well, because he worked closely with us to make sure everything happened as well and stuff like that, and the administration from the past as well. But for pan itself in Tobago, our problem was time.
Yeah.
We started a little late than usual and stuff like that.
Well, I'm going to talk about time now.
For the bands and stuff like that. So if you could enhance on that and the budget as well, we'll be fine in pan.
Thank you very much. So before Panchimbigo came up, I had a question I want to ask. How can we improve on our start time as mass bands? Tuesday was supposed to start at what time? 11 a.m. We started at 4 p.m. Pan was supposed to start at 4 p.m. So I want us to be kind of honest with ourselves as well. How can we improve our process? Let's have that discourse. What would have caused us to move from 11 to 3 p.m. in the evening, the hot sun? So should we, all right, good. So are we saying that we need to start the parade later? I'm asking the question. Yes? Yes? Right. If we are to start later, how can we stay on time? Pan was their lineup ready to roll. Start with Pan? So we want to jump up in the night. That's what we said. It's a different kind of conversation. That is a whole different semantics. Correct. We have to be strategic, and I'm asking the question so that we have a sense of order, that we have process, right? We can't start in the night, right? So we need a realistic time to start the parade, because it affected everything else. Because once we agreed on a time, that altered the entire procession of everything else that followed. So we really need to correct those things, right? Me and you gotta sit down and talk, right? Don't worry, I got book a time for you. Anyway, last point for me before we jump back in. Penalties for starting so penalties for people who don't start on time. Listen, say it again. You want penalties because I don't want it to say is TFCL fighting we down, the THA against we. I want it to be said that we, the stakeholders, agree that if we start late, arrive late, we are penalties. You got that, right? I want to make sure that in bold and capital. Penalties, right? 1. So we saying 1 p.m. we gotta. That too late? And too bad in October we just start around that time and we just survive. But we had to make room for pan to start at 4 o'clock. Great. So the suggestion is mass, meet, decide, cuss each other about it, and give me one time that everybody agree upon. Yeah? Right? So you're saying that we need to restructure Monday and Tuesday? So move pan?
It had worked in our favor, because we normally would go to Trinidad to support the large bands, which is the Carnival weekend.
Come to the mic for me now, so you can say a piece.
Alright, so Kidion is the name, Pan Trimbago.
Right.
Alright, so normally Pan would be on the Carnival Monday, which will have the Pan on the road competitions, and we leave the Tuesday for mass and stuff. But it had kind of worked in our favor when you all asked us to bring the Pan on the road on the Tuesday, because normally Pan Trimbago would go to Trinidad on the Carnival Saturday to support the large band, and then we'd return to Trinidad, return to Tobago on the Sunday, so it gave us time for the bands to actually practice. But I mean, we could work together and see how best we could iron out the situation, because it was really ridiculous. Carnival Tuesday fighting
to get it time
with the mass people who kind of, I had to rough up some of them on the Esplanade to get my bands to perform.
But you see, right behind you is Mud Mass. So
Right,
everything
mud
has a process. And if one run late, because what we had to do was hold mass on the mud mass on the highway to make sure pan come out in time, because when mud mass come down, Scarborough shut down.
Exactly.
So we have to now be strategic in our timing. So Mass, I'm asking you collectively decide on a time. Right now for record keeping, we're starting with 1 p.m. right? And then you'll collectively decide on that. Pan, are we saying we sticking with Tuesday or we want back Monday? You're going to decide and you're going to let me know, right? Okay, great. Great. Training and development. There is a need for us to have Carnival as a business, mass making as a business, wire bending, design, all of those things. Are we open to those things? Yes? Would we pay for those kind of training? No. I didn't hear you. You said yes first, you didn't say anything after. You said yes? Okay, just wanted to make sure. There needs to be also a really defined, we need to define what is traditional mass and what is Tobago's traditional mass characters, and how we can enhance those things to enhance our carnival display. That needs to be a literal definition, and that needs to also be in the policy. So I'm also asking us to pay attention to those things, because it also determines what we can support and how we support the development of that. Because what is going to happen slowly and slowly, as she mentioned before, it's going to be eroded and it's going to disappear because we start focusing on Trinidad traditional mass or an assumed Tobago traditional mass. So we need to home in on those things and build it into policy as to what we know as Tobago traditional characters. Yeah? That's my last point. Any other questions for me before I go? No? Great.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. All right. Right. I just want to reinforce the last point Mr. Cowan was making regarding the rearranging of the days for the National Carnival. And I will respond to the question that was asked by Ms. Ned regarding the first set of consultations that happened and what happened with those, right? So we give recommendations based on those consultations to the Secretary, and then the Secretary takes action. One of those actions will be a return to conversations in order to clarify some of the things if we have to get to a policy, right? As well as a return to conversations to properly canvass the society so that we get the perspectives from as large as larger a demography as possible, which is what I tried to explain at the very beginning. So that's why we're having a conversation again. But I'll tell you this as well. When I had the consultations some years ago, and I know that other TFCL members who are here were part of that consultation, part of those consultations, one of the outcomes, or one of the things that came out of those consultations was that there is need for more organizing, internal organizing among our stakeholders, right? Because quite often what happened was that a decision that perhaps was made by an organization, we would get contradictory calls by members of the very organization saying they didn't want to do that. You with me? So what that told us was that the stakeholders that we are working with needed to actually do a little bit more work and organize themselves in ways so that their lobbying could be stronger, right? And that is what I suppose Mr. Cowan was talking about. So the suggestions that you are giving to us can really come from finding some kind of facility to organize and have regular meetings and go as wide as possible so that you get your own broad perspectives. When you come to suggest things to the division, you're coming from a place of comprehensiveness as opposed to just your group, right? So that is the thing I would want to reinforce. Any more comments or questions regarding the National Carnival? I think those who did talk captured quite a lot. There's somebody else coming, and then we'll move quickly to the October Carnival.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
evening to the panel. I'm Candice Robinson, Chairman of Tobago Zone, and I have a concern. Now, my concern is the timely manner of the subventions towards the interest groups, one, and as we're at the point of the National Carnival. Now, this is something that is very important to Calypsonians in Tobago. My issue with the Festival Commission, whosoever is in charge of doing the subventions, now, the National Carnival is important to Calypso because we get the juniors and seniors vying for a chance at the national semi-final and the final. In the past, right, the people who would have qualified for the semi-final to go to Trinidad, they were given assistance. Mind you, when they get there, they have to get a place to stay. They have to be there for rehearsal some days before the event itself. And to have people who, like props, going down to work with them as a part of the stage production, right? And we tend to, I'm not blaming anybody, but in terms of assistance for these people, now remember they are leaving Tobago to go to Trinidad to represent Tobago, right? Somebody like me who have no family in Trinidad or anything, I would have to have a place to stay. I would have to make sure I have my people there to work with me on time and everything, right? And it's sad that, well, I could say for this Carnival 2025 that both the juniors and the seniors, they didn't get the assistance to go. They found themselves in places where they didn't have a place to stay, and the only way that somebody coming out from Tobago going to Trinidad to represent Tobago, if they get the assistance to go, it gives them that extra push to be the best that they can be, to come back here and satisfied to say, I represented Tobago to the best of my ability, right? So to not have that assistance and they go there and they don't know what they're about or where they're pushing their head next, it is not nice, right? And I'm just asking whosoever is in charge of whatever subvention or whatever assistance they would need to go, assist our people. We are all from Tobago. We are Tobagonians. And when we go down there, we're not going down there as an individual, or even if we have 6, 7 people going to the semifinals, we are going as Team Tobago. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Candice. So I think we could probably move to the October Carnival. Right, so we are approaching the 4th year, the 4th incarnation of it, and floor is open for your questions and perspectives as well, all right? We are also reviewing 2024 October Carnival. All right, so, yes.
I think I was a bit shy for the last discussion. Mm-hmm. My name is Annalisa Boysall. I'm the Shorex coordinator for most of the ships that come in. Okay, and I just wanted to say how important time is with regards to the last Carnival presentation. I did get responses or feedback from the ships. Just firstly, the ship that arrived on the Thursday before Carnival, that was a maiden voyage. unfortunately, I didn't have any information because they normally would ask what's taking place on the island. Costa Fortuna, that came on the Sunday, that, of course, festival decided to move the kiddies to that day. They came with over 2,000 French nationals
We're talking
from
about
Guadeloupe.
the National Carnival.
The National Carnival, yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm just talking quickly on that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, right?
Good. Right.
So they came with over 2,000 people from Guadeloupe and Martinique. And if you know about our carnival history, started with the French, they did come expecting a carnival at 12 noon. They came off the ship, and majority did return to the ship. And the ship did inform us that they were a bit disappointed because that was the last call, I think, for that ship. And it didn't do much excursions because persons came expecting to see the Tobago Carnival, especially the Kiddies Carnival. Because it was a long weekend for them as well, there were a lot of children on the ship. And I think Ms. Ned mentioned a few of them may have participated. And that is something that we could have maximized on, where we could have brought in costumes for the children, and they could have been part of the masquerade that day. And on Tuesday, where we had Morella, a week before, they had asked us to present a carnival experience with one of the excursions. And we sought assistance, but one good thing is that most of our tour guides are also masqueraders. So we had our Dame Lorraine, we had our Moko Jumbies and so forth. And we attempted to do a presentation for 150 of them. They paid for to see a presentation of our traditional carnival. But that too, they also gave us a feedback of the late start of the carnival on Carnival Tuesday. So again, we must be on point with regards to time, especially when we're dealing with international visitors, and even our own local people. Time is money. Okay, if I know that something is going to happen at a specific time, I plan it for that time. So that's my feedback with regards to the cruise ship.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just one. Before she. Okay. But you still want to offer it? Okay.
Kimoy Kirk, Cultural Development Assistant at the Department of Culture. I just want to stand in defense to what was just said. On the Sunday at about 11 p.m., the Department of Culture was on the Esplanade with approximately 50 traditional carnival characters. We took about 300 tourists around the streets of Scarborough. So you need to check with that feedback. I believe it's incorrect. Thank you, love.
If I may just say, I recall you calling me and asking me to ask the Department of Culture not to do the tours because you had already bought the people on the ship. Remember that? Not because you had bought the people on the ship, and what we were doing was a contradiction when the people already paid you for the ship. You remember that? Do you remember that? Well, right, you were saying that if we do what we were doing, which was moving the tourists through Scarborough, it was a direct contradiction to the people who were paid and they wanted back their money because you paid. You remember that? Saffola, remember that? Yes. What you are saying, and let me just stay here and say that is the furthest thing from the truth. Before I valued you, but today I know where to really made of. That's not true.
We will keep the respect. We will keep the respect.
Mr. Taylor,
just a second, ma'am.
Yes.
Just a second. Let's let the room breathe.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like us to not defeat the purpose of what we came here to do, right? I would like us to keep our emotions in check. Or making me feel like I'm an assembly legislator now. But I would like us to keep our emotions in check, keep on point. We are not here to degrade each other. We are here to find solutions, to bring suggestions, to mitigate problems. Quite clearly, there seems to have been a communication issue there, but I do not think that the approach that is playing out here is the right approach. And going forward, I would like us to keep our discipline intact, keep our dignity intact, keep our respect intact, and let us go forward finding solutions. Please and thanks.
Right. October Carnival. Yeah.
Waiting for me. All right, so good evening to the head table and to everyone in attendance. You know, it's really good to see so many of us here today to kind of speak on both festivals, right? So I just want to touch on a couple of things. I know at the end of October last year, my name is Dexter Sandy, Tobago October Carnival Association, as well as Iconic Mass. All right? So at the end of October last year, I think it was in November or December, I decided to check my emails. We would have sent in a report to Festival Commission, just kind of giving a post-mortem on what we think went well and what were some of the areas that we need to improve. And I don't think everybody in the room had the benefit of that information, so I'll just touch on a couple of points. What went well, we realized that year 3, the execution of year 3 was much better than year 2 and year 1. It says that we learned over the years and we really improved, right? We saw where, as the band association, we met and we worked out things like the clusters, what it means to share resources and things like that, and it worked. And we're really hoping that this year we even make it a little more efficient. Right? Some of the challenges, we know that one, Juve didn't start on time. Right? We know it wasn't any fault of the bands, it wasn't any fault of Festival Commission, but we do hope this year the other parties get it correct. All right? In terms of the night mass, we know that we had a major disappointment in terms of it being shut down inappropriately on the Saturday night, and we do hope that this time around we get it right and we will not have something like that reflected again. All right, but those are just some of the challenges that we had last year. Coming into this year, I heard this statement made earlier, and respectfully I just want to disagree with it. The one that says October Carnival should be like a borough celebration, right? I understand what the lady is trying to say, but I want us to think bigger than a borough celebration when it comes to October, because the role that October Carnival plays is much different from National Carnival. October Carnival brings thousands of visitors to the island to bring revenue to the island. Before we even talk about playing mass and who get grants and that kind of thing, the purpose of October Carnival is to bring visitors to the island so that the island's economy makes money, right? We all benefit from it. And that is way beyond what a borough celebration is. So I don't want us to really put our minds, wrap your minds around that. One of the areas that we have noted is lacking from October, and I guess that's why I should make a statement like that, is that some of the cultural expressions are missing from October, right? I know when October was born, it was all about putting mass in the road, looking good, so we could bring visitors to the island. But I think we have kind of achieved a high percentage of that so far, so now it's to kind of fine-tune it and make sure that the cultural expressions, the calypso, the traditional, the old mass, all those elements, the pan, right? I mean, pan kind of already integrated in it, but I really want us to make sure we don't lose the essence of what a carnival is, right? Now, Jamaica just finished in April, and a TikToker went on that Jamaica Carnival going to take over, is the best thing since sliced bread. But somebody commented and looked at the thread, and it said that a carnival is not just a series of parties, and then you go on the road and jump and play mass, right? October might have started off like that, but it cannot continue along that pattern if it is we really want it to be sustainable, right? So I want us to make sure that in the planning going forward, if it's this year, next year, that we ensure that the cultural expression is embedded in October to ensure the symbolism of Carnival is maintained, right? I heard Dr. Thomas referring to this consultation is going to be beyond this room, is going to go around the island, because Carnival is not just about the persons who participate in it, but the persons who are also impacted by it. I want us, whilst we're doing that exercise, to be very careful, right, that the persons who are impacted by it, whether it's positively or negatively, you don't throw off this core and what it is we want to achieve. I've seen many times, not only in Tobago, but outside of Tobago, where the opinions of others kind of shape things, and it's not in the best interest of the practitioners. The practitioners came out here today because we want to make sure that we do the best that we can do for Carnival, right? And I don't want that the others who are not here, they have the major voice, and we had a kind of shape and shift to suit them. So I'm just saying, be careful with those opinions, right? The launch of Carnival. I heard Yankee spoke about the launch for National Carnival. My interpretation of her words was like it was non-existent. Last year, I would throw your minds back, last year, March, we had a meeting just like this, triggering October Carnival preparations, right? And we went into, I think it was the month of May, where a launch of some semblance down at Crown Point was June. Right? I'm going to make sure I set the record straight.
Pavement lime.
It was hard. And you did not get the buy-in from the bands, from the promoters, from Pan, no Calypso. Let them state the record. There was one band, I think, that showed their face to give some support. And I think the approach was wrong last year, and we need to learn from the mistakes, right? We cannot go about repeating it. We are already in May, right? But we cannot go about repeating those mistakes, because you will continue to get the same result, which is the resistance from these practitioners. So let us try our best to not have that mistake repeated, right? The staging for the stage area for Carnival on the Sunday, right? I mean, I can't touch on everything here tonight. I mean, others will come up, but I want to speak about that staging area. I would really like for us this year to move from a staging area to a stage. Right? Last year, we tried, I understand the approaches we made, we tried to get sponsorship, we tried to do many different things. We talked to contractors, we tried to get the price down. We as mass bands went and engaged contractor, bring a quote, everything. And when it came closer to the time, it was not possible, right? I am saying that our budget hasn't been formulated as yet, let us make that a priority if it is we want to really raise the level and the standard of the carnival, which is what we want to do year on year, right? We need to get a stage, right? A stage at the Market Square location. I would say Market Square location because we test it and we prove it. We test stage by the scene year 1 and year 2, and last year we showed why Market Square was better for the amount of people now participating in the carnival. So let us get that stage in the area transferred into an actual stage at the staging. If you understand, it's a physical stage, right? Because again, there are other persons who are looking at Tobago, they're measuring the experience that they get here, they're measuring the product that we're offering against other islands. Why should I come to Tobago Carnival versus going to Jamaica or Miami in the same month, right? For the majority of people who involved in Carnival in Trinidad who like to run on a Carnival, we're closer, we're cheaper. Let us make it more attractive so that they could come here, so that all of us in here will benefit. Right? So those are just some of the points I wanted to touch on for this evening's proceedings.
Thank you. Thank you, Dexter. Nice.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kwesi Pilgrim. I am co-chair of Aziza Holdings Limited and CEO and founder of Show Vibe. I only have two main things, right? Because I mostly do events. I'm part of Iconic as well. But when I say that, like a outside part of Iconic. So we're in mass as well. My thing is, the liquor license situation, it needs to be a little more streamlined because when you're trying to get a liquor license for an event, it's just up and down, back and forth. And I've had events come to the point where I didn't even have the liquor license on the day. So I couldn't even sell liquor on, and this is Carnival Friday, right? My event is on Friday. I didn't have the liquor license and I was applying for it like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of time. And it was just back and forth to court and uptown, downtown. It was just a real drag, right? So if we could streamline that thing, it would be way better and easier for us to do. The other thing is, we all love Trinidadians' involvement in Carnival and Mass, but I am also very close to a lot of Trinidadian promoters, and they are all talking about the possibility and ways to come across to Tobago Carnival. And if you know anything about Trinidad promoters, they just do this, right? They like to do this. Barbados Carnival is Trinidadians doing it. Jamaica Carnival, it's Trinidadians doing it. Tobago Carnival cannot afford to be Trinidad Carnival Part 2. That doesn't make sense to me. Not at all. Because if it's Trinidadians alone making the money going back to Trinidad, it's not staying here. You understand? If it's Syrians and whoever making any money in Trinidad, it will just go back to Trinidad and China and wherever else. It will never stay in Tobago. They will come across any boat, they'll make their money and press. You understand? All right, so we have to find a way between all of us and the THA and the stakeholders to make sure that Tobago Carnival, again, we're not trying to shut out the Trinidadians, but we have to make sure that they know this is we thing, and it's either you stay in line or you don't come on board. That's all.
Thank you, brother. Floor still open, huh? Just.
So good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Elvis Rajman. So I want to talk about the business of Carnival. I want to talk about the business of Carnival and all the moving parts that allows for the business of Carnival to be successful. Carnival is a business. Most of the people who come out day and night and do it, they love it, but there are some financial aspect to it that you are the managers of business. So let's start from the top, and I will dissect it all the way down. So I was very fortunate to be in the back end of what this Tobago Carnival should have been, or the Tobago Carnival is today. Fortunate. The way in which we plan and execute, we are selling to ourselves, that's one. notwithstanding the issues with Cal, notwithstanding the issues with the ferry, we are selling to ourselves. Because no real person is going to plan to be in Grenada, Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana, Miami, or anywhere else in the world for a carnival, and they plan it 2 months or 2.5 months prior to.
Thank you.
That's one. If the THA is the producer of carnival through Festival Commission, then the THA have to be very steadfast in exactly what it intends to do over what period of time. So the talk about the money, that is an excuse. I've been a part of the system far too long to know that is an excuse. Because if it's that we are planning an activity and we need A, B, and C resources, we may not necessarily start with all A, B, and C resources, but at least we should start with at least A and B. How are we going to promote this? Let me tell you exactly what takes place. They farm out piece to the agency, TITAL, and said TITAL doing promotion. TITAL and really liaising with the stakeholders to get a sense of what the stakeholders really want to push out. That's one. Two, then Festival Commission does their operationalizing and bring up, but then they don't have no money. So they're going to stakeholders, they're going to providers, they're going to them and say, we want to get this. Up to now, they have nothing to start with. Bands like Iconic, bands like all the other bands here, they are going to loans, they're going for loans and all these different things. So we have heard in the past where, well, if it's a business, there's BDU, and how we integrate what is happening across the island, and instead of people coming and start talking, because we have been talking for decades, this handout situation where everybody wants this grant. The grants are worthless for the most part. The grants cannot do most of the things that you guys are doing. You all take $5,000, $10,000, and it should not be about a figure. It should be about what is necessary to make what needs to make work. It's not about a figure. So we talk about these things, the 5,000, the 10,000, and they're run by Samaroos, and that's why all things are not growing. How about we take an approach where Iconic, A-band, C-band, I can't remember all the name of the bands, I'm not really following the bands. How about these people really come up with a strong business plan? Any of the bands, small, medium, or large. And BDU is now assessing this, and then we determine how are we going to go about assessing those things. So people get that true value, because if the THA is hosting it, is producing it, we are not a carnival society. That is the reality. We are now introducing something. We have had carnival in the past, but what we are trying to do now, we are trying to attract, my good friend said it, we are trying to attract visitors. There are benchmarks set all across the world where carnival is concerned. This is not new. Nothing you're doing here is new. It is not new. So people are benchmarking what they see in Grenada, Barbados, Jamaica, and they're benchmarking Tobago. How about we take a look and seeing how we could really measure up what we're doing to ensure that when we put something on the table, it measures up. So people are not just going to Tobago because they like Tobago. They're going to Tobago because Tobago has something to offer. But if we are not triggering the things in the back end, from a marketing perspective, from a PR perspective, from a planning perspective, and then what we do in the end, we just try to throw a lot of blame all over the place about all the reasons why it was not done. These are the people who are embarrassed. These are the people who are left out of pocket. These are the people who can't really look at people at the end of the day because they owe them money. Because Kern Kawan, my good friend at Festival Commission, every year that wear the crown. Kern Kawan will come and say, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. But then people go on Kern Kawan's word, or they go on the assistant secretary, or they go on Mr. Taylor, or even the administrator, whoever that person may be at a given time. And they go full force. Captain, we have had this conversation many times, too many. These are now becoming exercise in futility. It has just become that. And we don't want that to happen. We want that when we come here and we share our views as to how we see as stakeholders, how we can move the thing forward. And that's why Dexter could talk about the stakeholders talking one thing now, but it does something very, very different. At this point in time, based on my observation, and I have had over 30 years experience in event management and planning, and I'm very good at it. While we have set all the entire structure, Captain, is set up, it is not designed for success. And I'm hoping that some real people talk the real things at these sessions, and you all take it. and start to put those things in place, because we have seen all the stories before. We've heard all the names. When it's not Tital, it's festival, it's culture. Culture always coming in at some level to save something. That is the reality. That's my people. Culture always coming at someone to save something, but it's because of how it is planned, how it is executed, and how we choose to divert and allocate resources. If the Tobago Carnival is important to us, if the Tobago Carnival is important, and I'll repeat it, if the Tobago Carnival is important to us, we will allocate the right kind of resources. No, we are in May. Carnival is 5 months away, am I correct? Yep. 5 months away. Let us be real. 5 months away. The kind of investment I'm hearing bands going into at this point in time, and there's no real conversation. We are now having a conversation about to consult on what took place last year. So, if we really want to make a certain kind of change, we got to tear all this up. Get the right people who know what this is about. The right people are here, I can tell you that. Many of them are in this room. They are here. Let us put the things aside and get it, because the people who are doing it, one, they love it, and two, they want it to succeed. We want to pat ourselves on the chest and say, well, Trinidad, you think so, but we do everything right here. But we can't do that because we are left out in the cold, because how it is organized, managed, planned, and executed. The strategy, many times I ask, where is the strategy? Who are we talking to? When are we talking to them? Giving the information for giving the information's sake is of no real value. Those are some of the real issues that is going on. It starts from a policy level and from an operational level. But what I'm listening to my colleagues here today, and I was really listening to hope to hear some of the things that we really need to do strategically. Because, Captain, to us to come here today and just do this talk shop, because I have been a part of many of these talk shops for all kind of things. It's not just Carnival. We've always had the talk shop. What is going to be different about this time? That's the question I asked, because it was about question. What is going to be different today? What date is today? The 15th of May. What is going to be different about the 15th of May and what took place here today that's going to cause some kind of real change for Carnival 2025? So I kind of want all people to put the real things on the table. Let us not sugarcoat it. Let's talk about the issues. Let us move away from the issues and they must have boundaries. So, and I don't wish to disappoint anybody. We can't have the thing happening at any given time. We can't say one time it's starting at 1, one time it's starting at 2. There must be boundaries, because there are other incidental costs associated by starting at a particular time. So Mr. Kawan and they plan to have the carnival run from 1 to 8. You got to pay police. You have to get more tower lights, and then why are you going to go and design your beautiful costumes for nobody to see tonight? Tell me. Why are you going to do that? So there must have boundaries, but it's the systems, and we have to try hard at it because we're going against the grain. Culturally, or people don't like to come out in light. They don't like sun, and they don't like brightness. They like to be in the back. That is just how people are. So then how do we change that? How do we change that? We incentivize it. That's just one approach. We incentivize the shit out of the whole thing to make sure that people come out. If this lady is doing a band, because it's not just about her, she may be the band leader, but she has 100 people that follows her. She has to find ways to convince those 100 people, A, is very important, we're gonna come on for 11. But how you do that? By just telling them, you have to incentivize it. Those are some of the issues that has plagued Carnival, whether it be National Carnival, and continue to plague the October Carnival. But if we keep just doing this feels like the same thing to me. I am hoping that as a result of this, something drastically changes. But it's left to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elvis.
Good evening, Beverly Riley from the Riley's Connection. Just piggyback on Mr. Rajman there. I put myself forward one time. I have a big, beautiful costume that I use for February. It is there, wrapped up and ready for October. So you don't have to take the boat and look in Trinidad. I'm right here in Tobago. So, festival knows to contact Riley's Connection, Beverly Riley. Queen.
Thank you.
Good evening, Vanessa Boyce. Today I am representing the Tobago Promoters Association. One of the major issues the promoters identified for October was challenges with some of our service providers. Now, as you would expect, the weekend of Carnival, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's when there were most of the events. Some of the bigger events during that time experienced some challenges because there is a limited availability of some particular services that will be required. So for example, you have events that may have a main headline act that will have a rider that will require certain type of sound, and there might be only one person in Tobago who can provide it. Or the stage has to be a certain size, or certain elements that have to come in after, you know, like you may need platform builds, or you might need electricity generator, anything like that. And especially the weekend of Carnival, there are a limited number of suppliers, and sometimes you may engage a supplier, but they have several other jobs, and that affects your particular product. What we realized in talking to suppliers, since coming out of COVID, a lot of the businesses either downgraded or didn't improve, or some of them fell off from that particular business and they're no longer present. Now, as Elvis said, the Carnival is a business product, and now we must now look at building even the support services for our events and building those businesses so they could also improve on how they supply us. So as we talk about, there's the business development unit, and of course I know that the THA would always look at the different industries that will help build the economy. We need to look at even these kind of service providers and how we could also provide support to them so that they could also be part of this particular Carnival product, because we don't want a case where we can't get the sound person or we can't get the stage person, and where do we have to look? Trinidad.
Right.
We don't want to have to go to Trinidad for all these different suppliers. So we really need to even build our businesses and our suppliers so they can now improve the quality of events that we put off. All right? Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, oh, sorry.
Just before you go, we are expected to wrap up at 7:30. So I just want to make some really quick comments. It's now 7:15, right? So we have 15 minutes more here. So really quickly, just to answer your point first, Vanessa, I am an advocate for the development of the local supply chain. We need to invest in our very own. Our very own needs the time to develop those things. And things need to be not only in Carnival or not only in October, but every single month, because these suppliers have overheads. And that is something that we as the Festival Commission and the THA want to encourage, as to get local businesses to start advancing. It is critical to our overall product. And that is very much a good point that we are going to do our best to encourage as well. Quick question, October Carnival, any issues with the route? No issues with the routes. The route does not need to change. Now, I know you raised the question about the staging area. We're going to the mic. So one of the comments many of the comments coming out from the people who are participating, they like the freedom of the road. They like the freedom of the waterfront, and parading along that stretch gives them a freedom, the breeze, the everything. is there really a need
Yes.
for a stage? Yes?
See, I didn't even have an answer. And
again, this is the dialogue. I'm asking because I want to be sure that we are understanding the question that we are asking.
Yes.
Right.
So I would explain why they are all saying yes. Right? Carnival, as you rightfully said, is about freedom to express on the streets, whether you're in Port of Spain, whether you're in Scarborough or Roxborough. Right? The tradition across all carnivals, as far as I know it, is that there is a focal point that you will cross to display, not only for competition, it is to display your portrayal across a platform, which is usually a stage. Stages may vary in sizes based on the venue and the size of the carnival, but there's always an area that you display your carnival portrayal, and that is at a stage. It is required. It is something that masqueraders, if they look for, they anticipate it. Last year was wonderful in terms of everything that happened outside of a built stage. It's the first time I played mass and I seen smoke, fireworks up in the air, daytime fireworks, right? We had a lot of different things that you all did right. But I'm saying the stage, that physical thing that we go up on a ramp.
Yeah, that's actually not my question. You kind of pointed to Market Square.
Yes.
So I'm asking, between Market Square and the waterfront,
right,
where is the preferred?
So we went through that assessment last year, and we try for the impact of Carnival to not negatively affect others. Market Square is an isolated area that allows for building a stage over a period of days and to break down without an inconvenience to the same others.
Well, it's always inconvenience. It's just a minimal inconvenience.
Minimal inconvenience.
To us.
Right.
But the Market Square users also have to be considered.
And that is part of Tobago trying to earn a revenue versus impacting a few. I think if it is we put things in place in advance for alternate spots in Scarborough, right? There's a pay car park next door to Royal Castle. If we had to do a lease for a 1 week, something, we had to cater for those things.
That's
for
right.
the people who be inconvenienced.
Right. I just want to be clear from a policy creation point of view.
Yes.
The preference of the stakeholders, how we want to position this staging area. So we are saying Market Square is that staging area.
Yes, we did an assessment and it really.
There are two things. Tobago, unlike any other carnival you see, when you see those costumes against the backdrop of the ocean front,
that's
$1 million photo.
I think so. I think so as well.
From our perspective, that is something we cannot lose and we should not lose. But we have the opportunity to bite to the cherry. We have the bite of the cherry where we can present the mass in a true island vibe that sends up and creates a certain kind of feeling. We have that. But these women that pay $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000 if they're in the road and the money hairdresser all night and they pay from 4 in the morning to be. They didn't do that just because they want to sweat themselves to go in the road. They want to hit the area.
Right.
So therefore, we have to cater to both. And if we cater to both, we can get 2 bites in the cherry because we are satisfying the needs of the stakeholders because they have been clamoring for it. No way they have Carnival, they will have a center of focus.
Yes.
And 2, that oceanfront view down on that stretch, that's $1 million stretch.
It is. It's actually one of our preferred points, but of course we're not going to squeeze our Carnival, so we share in the approach because our approach is really to have a focus on the waterfront. If there's a preference on the Market Square stretch,
and we wanted that, but when we did the assessment of inconveniencing that waterfront road to build out the stage that is required, not just put a stage that is a 20 by 20 stage, the stage that is required, it will take over the main pathway thoroughfare for vehicles, and we didn't want that the Carnival get a bad stain right, or stigma because of that. So Market Square, we were fine with Market Square, given the flow of the masqueraders. It allows for the trucks to stay on the roadway whilst the masqueraders are in the square doing their thing, and then to exit seamlessly and head down the road.
No problem. Take that point. So,
and you get the ocean when you're heading down the road. You still get it.
No problem. So we're saying we're good on the routes.
Yes.
The route is fine.
Yes.
The cluster.
Yes.
Is fine.
Yes.
No change to the cluster.
Yeah. One thing that we are going to work on internally, and is a reality that many bands that registered last year and year before have to face. If it is you did not hit the numbers, you need to do some introspection, and it may now mean you collaborating, right, as teams. Because yes, you would have had your plans, are coming with 100, and the reality that hit you October last year, it was 16. That is a fact. I know a band that hit 16. Yes. And we have to be fair to the organizers, because we would have made a pitch to support financially, to support via music truck, to do different things. And if it is we really, as a business, not hitting the numbers, we need to do some introspection. And I know I need to team up with this guy here, this lady here, and this lady here, who might have 16 each or 15 each, right? And we now have a larger number, and we work on that. That is how Carnival operated over the years, where persons' fractions would have break off after they reach an established size and capability and things like that, and then they went on their own. So I really asking band leaders this time around to be true to yourselves, and it might mean having the conversation from now to form the relationships and make it work for the product to look good.
Right, no problem. My last point is in terms of band launching.
Yes.
Across both National and October Carnival. Don't wait on the THF for that, you know. Again, we just said it. It's a business. Hold on.
Just to understand the business side of things. There are a lot of corporate bodies that I'm speaking from what I know. Yeah. They will start off the conversation because people here collectively will go and say, hey, Tobago Carnival coming up. Right. And we will excite them about what the potential of the Tobago Carnival will be. I can tell you, I kid you not, some of these corporate bodies, they will start off the conversation at $1 million in. They will start off the conversation from February, or right after February Carnival. All right, you know, we could probably spend $1 million on a campaign in Tobago. But if February go pass, March go pass, May go pass, and every month that passes, that $1 million goes from $1 million to 7.5 to 3. That's right. So the producer, and this is the thing, these are stakeholders, many of which are doing out of pocket to support. I think it is important that the THA establish a period of time. Say for the 3 to 5 year period, we are going to inject this amount of money collectively across the board to build the carnival. And wean people off.
That is exactly where we are.
The THA or the organizing body, you must send a very clear signal, because people have the power to do so. Iconic or Zane or whoever the people, they may have some resources, but you must send a very clear signal to the country and the island that Tobago Carnival is happening. We tend to come up with the blocks lukewarm.
Yes.
Not as late.
Yes.
Lukewarm, and then potential spenders. Corporate Trinidad that spends close to $500 million on the carnival industry. You know what Tobago gets at the end of the day? If we can scrape out $2 million collectively, we get plenty. Because of our planning, execution. So I think it's important that this launch of Carnival, whether it be National Carnival or October Carnival, is something that the TJ or the Festival Commission take as part of their full responsibility and get buy-in from the stakeholders.
So the conversation between the THA and the stakeholders is collaborative.
Yes.
That is exactly why we are here.
Correct.
But I am asking that we understand the product that we are offering as well and be ready to push it out together. Yeah? But we have to have a product that is being offered. And we want to be able to see that moving faster than just waiting. right? So from a policy standpoint, we want to be able to connect the dots together between the stakeholders and the THA in terms of the product offering. And as rightfully said, early enough and kick it off. We started launching the dates for October Carnival this year since last year. So we are in the mode of changing the way that we are marketing. We went up higher in terms of our branding in the space, our marketing in the Trinidad Carnival space. In 2025, we went deep into it. We are doing a lot of international marketing currently. So there is things that we are doing as well to push forward. And yes, we will be doing a launch for the Carnival.
Dr. Thomas, I know we have 5 more minutes, right? A couple more points. So on this same point here, there are bands in this room right now that have announced their launch date. There are bands in this room that would have already sent in formal proposals to corporate Trinidad and Tobago for sponsorship. And just like last year, yes, I hear you when you say a date is out. They are saying, but we're not hearing anything. We're not feeling anything. And when they say that, right, these are the brand managers and marketing managers saying that, it's because they are looking for the host to say and do something. Even if it's as simple as you have a media briefing that starts and says that this is what is going to happen for the carnival. You can speak to structure. I know last year Assistant Secretary had a hard time when they come at him very early, what is the budget? We can avoid the budget right now, but we can speak about the concept and what is to happen without a budget. Nice. Right? So those are some of the things that I just want us to touch on. And the next thing that was important for us as MAS, last year we were almost, I would say we were infringed on and by a promoter who moved very selfishly, right, on Carnival Sunday to host a major event that almost threatened the production of the bands and the success of the bands on that Sunday, right? We worked very hard to be where we are for today. I can tell you for Iconic Mass, right now, we have already spent $150,000 for October, right? The lady here represents Fog Angels. I'm sure they spent twice as much as me already. You haven't seen anything, the public hasn't seen anything, but bands are doing stuff. I know bands in here are buying fabric, they're buying beads. You hear Marston, I done buy my swimsuits already, my bath suit. People start investing, right? You can't have events coming that will threaten or make somebody now decide, should I really go to the parade or go to a fete? We heard Elvis say that Tobagonians don't like to come out in the sun. They don't like the light. So they would prefer to come out in the night to go to the party. I really don't want... We need to find a way to curb those things. Once Juve is declared from 4 to 10 a.m. and the parade is declared from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. The proclamation finishes midnight. So it shouldn't have anything happening after the parade on the Sunday. Let us make sure that those are maintained and they are not threatened by other entities that have their own agenda.
All right.
All right?
Thanks, Dexter. All right. 2 points. I think you're...
Ask a quick question for
Sure.
Dexter.
Go ahead.
Dexter, let me ask you a quick question. Do you have a record of the impact of that scenario last year on mass bands?
Well, what I can say to you is that we internally took evasive action and made sure that our masqueraders stayed with us until the end.
Right.
So I don't have data right now that says that we lost 10 masqueraders or 100 masqueraders left the band, because we made sure that they stayed with the band.
But that may not have been the case with other band leaders.
Correct.
Right.
But the from 2 months before, when it was announced, right, we had to spend more to make sure and keep the people, to make sure that they didn't leave us, because they said to us Well, you know, I had to leave the band early. I leave the band about 6 o'clock. We had to go and bathe and change to come back down to that venue, right? And so we had to do things, and I'm speaking physical things, spending more money to make our product more attractive and to hold them for the day and make sure that they stayed with us until about 8, 9 o'clock in the night.
Right.
We shouldn't have had to be battling with that.
Right.
On the major festival day.
Right.
So we walk people on the road, and the THA and all the stakeholders invested a lot of time to build that. What we kind of selfishly allow for any kind of means that we have people taking advantage of the momentum that was built over time.
Which sabotages the work that actually being done. Okay.
When all road engagement is not one to the level that people come to know and experience and want to appreciate, then people be like, the road ain't making no sense because the carnival can't be this for the feds. So therefore, I don't know if this is a policy or something. I don't even know if this committee can be able to make a hand and back on it, because a man could try to throw a fit when he want to throw a fit. The police agree. But we saw the potentially how we could affect what a lot of band leaders would have wanted to go on the road. And the carnival is growing. We want to get the numbers up.
Well, what I get in is that what both you and Dex actually is saying is that we have to be very deliberate about being careful about how we execute and manage the carnival.
Right. Remember, carnival isn't just masqueraders. The spectators on the road as well, and the vendors. There's a big event going on somewhere. People will leave the road, and vendors will not make as much money.
We get that. Yeah.
If you know Marshall performing here for a certain time for 6 o'clock, you leave the road.
Right.
So even the vendors and the spectators don't get the full thing.
So it was a legitimate problem for you.
It was a legitimate problem.
We get that. Right. Yes, brother.
Right. I could only
and
speak
sorry, this will have to be the last because folks on the head table have to head out, right? Nice.
I could only speak for Pancho and Tobago, and this I'm going to say is for the secretary, the administrator, and Mr. Kwan and Ms. Lovell here. We at Pancho and Tobago right now going to help enhance Tobago Carnival in this 4th year, and we are steadfast working on 2 products right now. Pan rhythm, steel and powder, and we're going to bring for the first time for Tobago Carnival to help and enhance it at Tobago Panorama itself. Yeah, we have also engaged in our corporate sponsors to bring. We have already drafted our proposal, and we're going to be in your face come this month. So look out for us, Mr. Secretary. And we're looking at the week before the carnival itself to do the panorama competition. And we're not just taking just panorama alone. We're going to send a statement. We want to do a production to make a statement for that panorama itself. And we want to bring the pan rhythm, steel and powder on the same time, the same week with the panorama itself.
Right.
So when you're doing your branding, when you're doing your marketing, please remember Pancho Tobago here to stay. We come in.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, brother. Yeah, man. No, man, do you think?
The thing is, we want to get how much people here on the island. People spending money for 2 days or 3 days, we want to spend them for 5 days. Yes. So, when you look at the ecosystem of this carnival at this Trinidad, it starts as soon as Ash Wednesday, Boxing Day. Boxing Day. So they literally have a month, and when we have it running like in March, they have an extended period. So that money filters through the ecosystem of this carnival. We primarily have the carnival on the weekend. So the island gets hot. It gets hot from about Thursday. And it gets hot. I think one of the strategies that you could consider is from Tuesday, Monday, that we can have a series of things that we encompass and embodies some of the local things happening wrong, but we want to encourage people to be on the island earlier. We don't just want people to come in and go to the hotel from Thursday or Friday and then they spend the weekend. We want them on top of the weekend.
So remember that conversation we had last year about trying to set the carnival season? This is what we're talking about, right? So, anyhow, folks.
And just know that the panorama is just Cardiff with Tobago bands only, and the THA Pan Champs. This is where it wasn't making sense for the February, so hence we bring it in October and make it an economical sense right now. So that money you were spending, administrator, please up your budget come October. All right, I'll be coming hard.
Yeah. So I really don't want to waste all your time. And I didn't want to waste nobody else's time on the head table. I think whatever was said needed to be said. I think, Elvis, you gave the most global stakeholder perspective that we need to hear. And how much money we actually will put. What happens? Oh, after today. What happens next? We will wait on directive and communicate that to you. I can't lie, I don't know, right? But I do know, as I said in the initial part of the convo, right, that the intention is to kind of get some more conversations going around the island, right, with different people, different groups. Talk about the others. We will be careful to not make the opinions of the others, right? But do know that precisely because we're not a carnival island just yet, the perspective of the others will in fact shape how the administrators or the executive do their work, right? So that's something to keep into consideration. Beyond that, I can at least give you the guarantee that you will be hearing from the Festivals Commission and or from the Culture Department regarding whatever is relevant to these two entities, right? And certainly, whenever that time for more talks come, you will know. And I hope this time the venue won't get flooded out, so we don't have to change it and whatnot. Good evening, have a good night. Sorry? Tuesday's the next time? Oh, Tuesday, yes. So the one that was to happen on Tuesday, gone. Look out for the information because that is now rescheduled to Tuesday of next week.
What is that?
The consultations in the East.
So, just now, before you leave, let me address Mr. Rajman's concern, right? Well, the one that you asked, Mr. Thomas, because we're not going to stay here until 9 o'clock tonight, right? I came to tourism last year, right? I was not a part of some of these consultations before, but we met, and just your concern is my concern in terms of us going forward. We could use, and I will call the name of the FET, we could use the comfort in FET as an example, right? And to me, that is about, as you said, we can't really tell a man when to host his FET, but no, we can't. You still can't really. Essentially, you cannot, right? But if you have buy-in from, you can't tell the police not to give somebody a bar license. The police are independent of the THE. They are independent. But what I'm saying is, if you have the buy-in of all the stakeholders, then you could really craft something policy-wise that everybody would adhere to, right? Now, one of the problems with that same FET is that we don't have a policy. And that FET, to be fair, that FET was here from the first year of the carnival. The problem came with the size of the artists in the event, right? And at that point in time, just like mass bands, they would have spent their monies. We tried to mitigate these circumstances, but it was very late. It's not like we didn't try, and the extra would attest to that. We tried. As a matter of fact, the FET is no longer on a Sunday because of those efforts, right? But at that point in time, monies were spent, and we decided, so let it be. But we have a timeline for our consultations, which would be 3 months, and it is the aim to make sure that policies that guide both National Carnival and October Carnival, we define what they are, define what we need to be done. The traditional elements of the carnival that are not in October, why Miss Lady would call it a borough, we understand that it needs to be incorporated. We had meetings, we are meeting with the Promoters Association in terms of a calendar and spreading the events out across the month. We expect, and I'm saying this guardedly, to have some more buy-in from CAL. So we expect even greater visitor arrivals for this year's carnival. So it is very imperative that we have clear policies and guidelines of how we approach this carnival. So that is the aim, is to make sure that by Carnival 2026, we have policies. You know, so that is the aim. We have set out timelines to achieve certain things so that we could get these things done. Right?
Public confidence is everything. Yes, Assistant Secretary. People want to know that when we came here and sat before you, Charleston, Jesse, Administrator, and CEO, because clearly people are interested. What we don't want is that we come and we say all that we say, and then a month, 2 months from now, it's the same talk of something. Once, because I honestly believe, if you deliver, and Jesse deliver, and the administrator deliver, and Clone deliver, and whoever deliver, then we could have a better collaboration, and we get a better product. What we have seen in the past, we've had it coming from one side, and we had it 2 hands clapping. They would clap together.
All right, so I'd like to thank you all for coming here again tonight. I'd like to thank you again for adjusting to the last minute change, and my pledge is to get this thing working together for the betterment of everyone in this room and everyone on the island. So I thank you again. Thank you.